Alright, so today is a pretty exciting day. I'm actually pulling some hatchlings out of the incubator. I'm going to set them up in my hatchling rack, and just a few days ago we actually cut those eggs open and peeked inside, and this was actually my Coral Glow 100% het pied crossed with a normal. So half the babies on average should be Coral Glows, and I peeked in there and it looks like we have at least one Coral Glow completely out of the egg, which is pretty cool. And Coral Glows are pretty interesting. Actually, back in the beginning of the ball python craze, way back in the early 90s, bananas and Coral Glows, basically the same thing, they were selling for $25,000 a piece. It was pretty incredible. And as a matter of fact, I wasn't really into ball pythons back then, but I've heard a lot of kind of what was going on as far as the whole ball python craze. And let me tell you, people were paying off mansions with ball python money. It was really lucrative. People are standing in line to buy snakes for like $10, $15, $20, or $25,000 a piece. And these were like spiders and pinstripes, Coral Glows, and albinos, some of the first stuff that came out. But the interesting thing about the Coral Glow is I've seen quite a few videos back from early when people really heavily invested in the Coral Glow, and then the prices tanked pretty much overnight, and people lost a lot of money. At that time, you know, it was like really easy money for a long time in ball pythons. And then the Coral Glow, it seemed like the Coral Glow was kind of the turning point, because a lot of people invested a lot of money. And the thing with the Coral Glow is it's co-dominant instead of recessive. So essentially you can breed it through your whole collection and produce a whole bunch of Coral Glows. And a lot of people have actually kind of responded to some of my videos and said, hey, what if I buy this $10,000 snake and I breed it to all these females and I make $1 million? And really, essentially what that does is it's kind of a flash in the pan. Sure, you can make a lot of money in a short time, but it really floods the market and then it tanks the price. And that's essentially what happened to the Coral Glow. Is I think people got a little bit excited about the Coral Glow, and they bred it to a lot of females thinking they're going to make a lot of money, and what it really did is pretty much overnight the whole market tanked for the Coral Glow. And a lot of people, I saw a lot of old videos on YouTube about people saying, hey, I just spent $50,000 on a couple Coral Glows. And let me tell you, that is a hefty investment. And a lot of times in ball pythons, it's like the game that you play. You really don't want to put all your eggs in one basket and invest really heavily into one project without kind of diversifying your investments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull those hatchlings out of the incubator. I want to show you that Coral Glow and some of the other snakes coming out. But I also want to show you an upgrade to my snake room. So essentially, you know, I don't really have a whole lot of really high-end stuff that I'm working with, but I'd say I'm making some pretty good money, and most of the money I make in ball pythons, I put it back into my equipment in new racks and cameras and tripods. And today I'm actually upgrading my table here in my snake room. I want to show you my old table, and then I want to show you my upgraded table that I'm going to use essentially to work around the snake room. You definitely need a table to work on, and I'm going to show you which table I bought. Alright, so this is my current table, and you wouldn't think a table would be kind of a big deal. What I actually did is I put luxury vinyl tile down on the floor, and I actually took the same kind of the vinyl tile and I put it on this table. You can kind of see it's just kind of glued right on. It wasn't a very good table to begin with. You can see it's kind of glued on. And I thought it was really cool to actually put this on here because it matches my whole snake room. It looks really professional. But the problem is when I was cleaning my tubs, I actually got water on the table, and the water got underneath the vinyl tile. And what it essentially did is it started warping more and more and more until this thing is totally warped out of whack. I can't even get my tripod to be completely level in this thing. This thing's driving me crazy, and it's warping so much I'm afraid it's gonna fall apart and fall on my feet. So what I actually did is I got the same length of a table. It's a really heavy duty table. It's on wheels instead of this, so I don't have to drag it around the floor, and it's not as wide. So let me show you that table in the box. I haven't actually put it together yet. Let's check it out. Alright, so take a look at this table. I actually just picked it up from Home Depot and I just popped the box because I was really excited about this table. And what it is, it's solid wood. It's like 1.5 inch thick solid wood, really super heavy duty. I love this, how smooth it is. and how beautiful it is. It sits on a metal stand, and here's a little of the packing material that I actually pulled out of it. But the one thing I didn't realize when I bought this table is it weighs 130 pounds. This thing is a beast, and I can put a link in the description below. I don't have an affiliate account with Home Depot, but you can go and check out this table. It's really awesome. It actually adjusts up and down. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna put this together, and then I'm gonna show you the finished product in my snake room. All right, so take a look at this table. I finally got it together, and I don't know about you, but I am pretty excited about having a really nice table. This thing is super nice, and I just kind of out of curiosity, I actually cranked it and raised it up. This is as high as it goes. Let me show you the lowest position. All right, so this is the lowest position, and I am ready to pull out some hatchlings, put them on this table, set my camera up on the tripod, and let's take a look at some hatchlings. All right, so here it is. This is the box from my incubator. This was my normal female number 3. I actually have 4 normals and my Core Glow. And the funny thing is I haven't actually named a lot of my breeders. I've been naming my hatchlings as I pull them out, but one of these days I'm gonna have to go through and name all my breeders. And this one, it's been in here for about 3 days. You can see there's a little bit more condensation on the top of this press and seal. And wow, take a look at this. Nice. We have one that is still in the egg that's a Coral Glow. 2 Coral Glows are totally out of the egg. Take a look at that. That is a beauty. Nothing like a Coral Glow. And I know last year people were like, right at the end I had some Coral Glows and people were fighting over them, and some people were really disappointed that they actually didn't get their Core Glow. So I thought this year, you know, I want to make some more Core Glows. I can always make more. There's plenty more where that came from, and these are fantastic. Used to be worth $25,000 a piece. Now they're not worth anywhere near that much. I'd say you can probably get a Core Glow for maybe $250, maybe less than $250 at this point. But when I got my Core Glow male, I think I paid, I've had it for quite a few years, I actually think I paid about $1,100 for my breeder Coral Glow way back in the day. The prices have come down quite a bit. So this is actually a normal, it's 50% het pied, because the male that I bought was actually 100% het pied. And sometimes you can see tracks down the belly on these het pieds. And I would say on this one, it doesn't really have any kind of tracks that I can see. Sometimes they'll fool you where you think they'll be het pied or vice versa. You really can't tell until you breed them out. I'd say this one has some really, you can see the tracks on this one. So this is kind of what we're talking about as far as the tracks, is these kind of dark lines. This is actually probably the strongest het pied markers I've seen all year in any of my hatchlings. So you can see there's really strong black lines right along the belly, and that is pretty much what you're looking for het pied. So I'd say, I would almost guarantee, even though this is a 50% chance of being het pied, I'd say based on the markers that I'd probably mark this one as 100% het pied just because of the markers. And then we have one that's in the shell still. Take a look at this one. Ooh, this one actually, I'm not sure about this one. This one is actually a Core Glow in the shell. It's alive, it's peeking its head out, but I don't know, it feels kind of really hard in there. I don't know if that one's actually gonna be okay or not. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna put this one back in the incubator and let him cook a little bit longer. Hopefully he'll actually crawl out of that egg on his own and he'll be okay. Sometimes they can get deformed and they have some problems. It's pretty rare that you have something that's deformed coming out, especially, you know, I'd say especially in like a mix like this where it's a normal cross with the Coral Glow. So what I'm gonna do from here is I'm actually gonna look at my other box. I'm excited to see what's coming out of the other one. And as a matter of fact, I was wondering if these Core Glows would come out because one of them smelled really bad. I'm surprised that they actually all came out. One of them wasn't looking too hot, and I wasn't actually sure if we were going to get any viable Coral Glows, so that is pretty cool. They look like they're doing good. Let's take a look at this one. This one, we actually, opened it up, we peeked inside and we saw 1 coral glow and 4 normals. What are the odds of that? Not very good odds on hitting the coral glows on this box, so it was kind of unfortunate. I was actually shooting for more than just 1 coral glow in this whole box, but I'll take 1. It's better than none, I guess. And sometimes the odds will play tricks on you. You can get a whole clutch of all coral glows, and sometimes you'll get all normals. I've seen it kind of flip either way. And look at how beautiful that coral glow is. That is a really stunning snake. You can tell he's pretty deep in shed. And these other ones, if we take a look at them, kind of for the het pied markers, it's kind of, I'd say some of these are kind of on the edge. I'd say there's pretty good markers on this one. And this one, maybe not, I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. I'd say maybe not on that one for the het pied markers. Sometimes they're really strong. This one looks like it might not be. I'd say probably out of all these, I would just mark that one is a for sure het pied. This one doesn't really look like, you know, sometimes you can kind of guess. You say, yeah, I kind of see a little bit, but I would say there's a 50% chance this is het pied. I wouldn't put a 100% guarantee on any of these based on the way the belly tracks look. So what I'm gonna do from here is I'm actually gonna pull these out one by one. We'll take a closer look at them, and then I want to give them names, and I want to set them up in my hatchling rack. All right, so I'm gonna start with this coral glow and set them up in these hatchling rack tubs. These are basically the ARS hatchling racks. I use a Pro Coco coconut husk, and I keep it pretty damp. I don't keep it to where it's like sitting in too much water, and then I keep the back open on a 90-degree hotspot over here, and I keep the water in a disposable little deli cup, and this is perfect. And on these coral glows, you really can't tell if they're het pied or if they're not. They really don't have any belly tracks. You start mixing the het pied into other genes, and most of the times you can't tell one way or the other if it's het pied or if it isn't. The only way you can really tell is if it's on a completely normal ball python. You can see the belly tracks really easy on a normal. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull a name out of the hat. Hopefully we have enough names here. These are just kind of generic names I pulled off the internet and I printed them out. This one's name is Pee-wee. All right. All right, so then I printed this out on my label maker so I can label my racks. I put the name of the snake, Pee-wee. This is a coral glow 50% het pied. All right, so next up is this normal 50% het pied, and in this one, let's see if I can unravel it a little bit. I would say there's maybe slight markers down here, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd say it's pretty close. I'd say this one has some pretty good markers. Not too bad. I'm not sure if this is the one I was looking at before that had the really strong markers. I would say this is probably a good bet. If you're looking for a het pied and you're really curious, you could actually go through some of these and kind of pick them up and take a look at the bellies and see if you can actually figure out which ones you think would be het pied if you're kind of buying into a project and you're hoping for het pieds. This one's name, this is a good name. This is Happy. All right, so here's another one. This one is quite a bit beefier than all the other ones. Sometimes they come out really big and sometimes they come out on the thin side. I think it's kind of interesting how some are a lot bigger than the others. And this one, if you take a look at the belly, I would say not really very strong markers on this one. Still 50% chance of being het pied. So let's get a name for this one out of the hat. This one is named Elvis. Elvis is alive. All right, so here's another one. This is another normal 50% het pied, and the interesting thing is you can kind of see in this hatchling that it has a little bit of orange along the belly here, and sometimes you'll get tricked by that orange. Usually I would say this orange fades pretty much. I've seen it really pretty bright on morphs like Lemon Blast and stuff like that, and people actually come up to my table and they say, hey, I want that snake because it has orange on the belly, and a lot of times that orange is actually just a juvenile thing and it'll actually fade as it gets older. So let's take a look at if we can get a name for this one here. This is a good name. This is Destroyer. All right, so here's the last one from that one box, and this is another normal 50% het pied. We can take a look at the belly on this one. I'd say probably not het pied tracks on this one. This belly looks pretty normal on this one. And the one thing you have to watch is, especially if you're using a setup like this, that I found the first meals for a ball python like this has to be a live hopper mouse. And I actually go through a few hopper mouses, and then I try the little tiny live rats, like a little rat pup. And let me tell you, if you tried to feed this guy a live rat pup and you had like maybe 50 of these, I'd say maybe only 2 or 3 out of the 50 would eat the rat pup. And if you actually used a live mouse hopper, almost every single ball python hatchling like this would eat all of the mouse hoppers. And I found it's pretty much the only thing that they'll eat. The one thing you have to watch is the water. So if you put like a live mouse or a rat in here and you leave the water in, essentially what happens is you're running a risk that the rodent can actually drown in the water. So what I do is I actually dump out the water, and then I put in pretty much the coconut husk. I got a fly in here. I don't think I've ever seen a fly in my snake room. That's pretty crazy. So essentially what I'll do is I'll dump the water and I'll fill it up with substrate, and then what I'll do is I'll put the rodent in here pretty much overnight. I leave them overnight, and then in the morning I go back through, and if they don't eat the rodent, I'll take it out and I'll wait until the next week, and then I'll refill all the cups with water. And let me tell you, it is really tedious going through all my 100 hatchlings, dumping all the water, filling them with substrate, going back the next day and refilling them with water, getting the substrate out. But let me tell you, it saves the rodents, and I think it's better in the long run. You definitely don't want to lose your rodents in the water. So what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to pick another name for this little guy. Here's a good name. This is Brownie. All right, so here is another $25,000 coral glow. Actually, that's what they used to be worth. As a matter of fact, if I would have hatched out 4 coral glows in this clutch, that would have been 100 grand that I was hatching out of this clutch. And today I'll be lucky to get, a few $1,000s for all these snakes. Maybe be lucky to get 1,500 for the whole clutch. Would be, because since I have so many normals, and these coral glows don't sell for a whole lot. If you start mixing them with other genes, you can get some pretty high-end stuff, but it's not really about the money for me. It's just about the excitement of bringing new life into the world. It's pretty amazing. Doesn't really matter what the price is, and for me, it's more of being an artist, and I can mix this with other genes and make some really cool stuff, maybe some stuff that's never been made before. And let me tell you, that is the most exciting part. It doesn't really matter. It's good to have money because you can reinvest, and you're not breaking the bank trying to follow your hobby. You're actually making enough to pay the bills and reinvest in some nice equipment and maybe buy a few snakes. I actually bought a pretty high-end snake this year. So this guy's name is Apollo. All right, so here's another coral glow. This guy looks really big and beefy, and I used to think that sometimes you could tell the het pieds by the jumbled up pattern. This guy doesn't really have that much of a jumbled pattern, but I'm not really sure if you can tell one way or the other on these. I would say really there's no markers 100% guaranteed either way. So I'm gonna get a name for this guy. We need a good name for a coral glow 50% het pied. This one is, all right, here's a good name, Magnum. All right, so here is another normal 50% het pied. I'm thinking I might have a lot of really low-end snakes for sale this year. Last year, it seems like I didn't have enough to satisfy the demand. These are always the most popular. Everybody's looking for the cheapest snake. And take a look at the belly tracks on this one. This is a classic het pied belly track marker coming all the way down the sides of these black lines right along the belly. That is definitely het pied. So what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to actually label it 50% het pied, and then I'm going to put in parentheses 100% het pied, because I can guarantee that one's het pied based on the tracks coming down the belly. Now let's get a name for this guy. This guy is, here's a good name, Pluto. All right, so here is my very last snake. This is another normal 50% het pied, and let's see the belly tracks on this one. Maybe a little bit. You really can't tell on that one. And essentially what I do is I don't figure out the males and the females until they get a few more meals into them, and then I probe them to make sure. This one's name is Luna. Alright, so that essentially just brings us to our last little coral glow, and you can see this one's actually still in the egg, still moving around a little bit, still kicking in there. I still have hope that this one is actually going to crawl out of the shell and do okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this back in the incubator for a couple more days, and we'll cross our fingers, and hopefully this guy will crawl out. Won't have any deformities or anything, he'll be okay. And we'll take a look at him, put him back to cook in the incubator just for a couple more days. Alright, so take a look at this. This is my hatchling rack over here. This is an ARS 1039, and it is completely full of hatchlings. And not only that, I have another hatchling rack over here. This is my ARS 1065. And I filled up this row, this row, this row, and part of this row. I have a few more rows to go. I definitely won't fill the whole thing up this year. I think I have 2 more boxes of eggs in the incubator, so I'll probably fill it half full. And actually at the very first show, I sold like 20 hatchlings, so I didn't really have to hold those over. But if you kind of look at some of these have eaten all 6 meals, and this is probably one of my favorites, this one right here. I'm tempted to hold this guy back. Look at how bright this guy is. Super bright pastel. That guy is just screaming. Some really beautiful colors on some of these. See what else we have here. We have a lesser. Some of these previous ones from previous clutches looking really good. This is Yuki, my lesser male. Actually, I went through and figured out the males and the females from these. Let's see, this is Boots, my bamboo over here. Let's see how Boots is doing. He's looking a little dry. I need to go through, actually today is the day where I need to go through and add a little water to all their enclosures and feed them. So what I do is I go through, add some water to the coconut husk substrate. I dump the water and then I pop in, actually these guys are pretty much on live rats right now. I switched over from mice to rats on some of these, and each little clip is the number of rodents they've eaten. See, so this one's eaten 6 rodents, and usually when they eat 6, I switch over to a little label like this. They've eaten 6 plus rodents, and then after 6, I don't really track them. And then, so really the only ones that are really ready for sale at the show are these 5 up here. Maybe a couple that have just had their 6th rodent, but they're getting really close, I'd say, all the way down to down here, where these guys haven't really eaten anything. It's still like 10 weeks till the next show. That's the Denver Repticon. Let's see, October 19 and 20, and that is this year, 2019. And then these guys, you can see, I just put them up here. There's a couple that have eaten a couple times. The interesting thing is, take a look at this guy. This is the one that I bought, and he was so small. I actually put him in a hatchling tub because I didn't really have a tub that was appropriate. This guy I actually bought online as a hatchling from last year, and he's doing great. He's eating a couple mice. Doing fantastic. That is a banana inchy clown that I'm going to breed over here. Actually, I'll just kind of show you my clowns over here. I have these clowns that are ready to go. These girls are pretty big. And hopefully, I was hoping to breed them this year, but I don't think that male is ready. So probably one more year before I actually breed these clowns. I have another clown down here. This one actually laid eggs last year. I bred it with my albino pied, and I got the triple hets albino pied clowns. So I got some clown stuff cooking. That will be pretty interesting in future breeding projects. All right, so here is my snake egg incubator. You can see it's clearing out pretty much. I actually almost had the whole thing full, and now it's almost completely out of eggs as my hatchling racks are filling up. You can see this box over here, we have the one more coral glow. Hopefully he'll do okay. This one is supposed to hatch in 2 more weeks. That is a lemon blast crossed with my pastel desert ghost male. And then this one up here is one huge clutch. This one is actually an albino pied crossed with my big pinstripe female. And actually I was looking in there and actually could see some little heads kind of popping out right there. So that one is actually going to be the next one. We're going to take a look at that probably in a few days. All right, so there you have it. That is a table and baby snakes all in the same day. It's pretty exciting. And if you don't know about coral glows, it's essentially essentially the same thing as a banana. And it's the interesting thing about coral glows and bananas is the gender of the offspring is linked with the genetic mutation. So for example, the male that I have is, it's actually a male maker. So every single coral glow baby that I produced last year was a male. And every time, I think you can actually produce females from a male maker, but it's a really slim chance. And the reason it's a male maker is because it was produced from a pairing where somebody used a male coral glow in the pairing, and essentially all the males are male makers, and it's so it kind of snowballs. You know, you get a bunch of males, and all the males are coming from the male parent, which means they're male makers. You can also get female makers, which is kind of interesting, and it depends. So for example, if you had a female coral glow and that produced a male baby, then that male would be a female maker because it came from a female. It gets pretty confusing. And then if you have a female coral glow, it's pretty much 50-50. There's no male maker or female maker with the female coral glows. It's a really interesting genetics, how it's linked with the males and the females. And what's even more interesting is how it's pretty much, you know, a historical part of the ball python craze, and how they used to sell for an insane amount of money and the price came way down, and now they're available to everybody who really wants a coral glow. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.